Hi, hi everyone. My name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober because of a loving God. I'm like a kid in a candy store every Monday. I have the opportunity to get some of my favorite women who are doing this thing. And so I am so excited about our guest tonight. She's another little firecracker like me. You put the two of us together and it's like dynamite.
Thelma and Louise, baby. Thelma and Louise.
We are something else. Her enthusiasm, her passion, dedication, that kind of thing that says, we take the program of recovery serious, but we don't take ourselves so serious. That's Katie, a no nonsense kind of woman, right? Which I love, where it's like, this is how I'm doing it, and I don't know what the hell you're doing, but this is what works for me. Uh, so I am so excited. We're going to talk about step 10 tonight. Share experience in that area. Strap on and hold on because we're about to go for a ride. And now I'd like to introduce my guest tonight, Katie. If you can introduce your name and your sobriety date. Go, Katie.
Will do. Thank you, Theresa. Katie Parker, alcoholic, been sober since October the 28th of 1984. And for that, I am blown away. I have to say, it's interesting. I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous 26 years old. I'm 63 now. And, it just blows me away. It's like, my God, yeah, are there rough times in recovery? You bet. There are rough times in life general. But to come from where most of us have all come and to turn it around and to have what we have is it's nothing short of a miracle. It says, in the book, in the Vision for You, it says the age of miracles is upon us. Miracles. And then yet some days I'll think, yeah, today is not a miracle. Okay. Nobody is doing as I wish. My home group is the Primary Purpose Group. We meet on Tuesday nights in Austin, Texas. If you're ever in the neighborhood, please stop by 2701 South Lamar at 7:30 at night. And we study the big book line by line week after week. And my husband says it's a lot more fun than it sounds. One of the things we do a little differently there is we study what the text is saying, what the founders found necessary to put in the book, why they put it in there, and connect the dots with the rest of the book. We ask that you stay away from your experience. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Matter of fact, it's one of our greatest things that we do in AA. But at this particular meeting, we're not looking for experience. We're looking to understand the text. And it's interesting because it is a textbook. So everyone has a different experience. Dr. Bob said that everyone has a different experience, but the directions are clear cut. And that's what's so important. If we're not careful, oral AA will drift all over the place. And what can keep one person sober can't keep another person sober. But we know for sure, understanding these steps and doing them. Imagine that. Yep, doing them. You will have an amazing spiritual awakening. Now, remember, a spiritual awakening, at least my understanding of it, is pretty darn painful. Okay. Enlightenment is the good part, but the spiritual awakening is the swallowing and digesting large chunks of truth about ourselves. My husband, Charlie, love him to death. He's on we bought, Theresa, you'll love it. We bought a motorhome. I got a dog. We bought a motorhome. I mean, people are doing crazy stuff during these pandemic times. And we're going to hit the road. So he's driving it back from Utah with one of his sponsees, Bill, who's actually on here. Oh, God love Bill. But so he likes to say I'm a little bit like taking a drink out of a fire hose. You get a whole lot more than you were expecting. And that's very true. I like to tell you I'm the vessel. I'm not the power. I don't want to be the one to tell you what boy to date, what job to take, what car to buy. But I am the vessel to help you get connected to the power. Absolutely. I have a message of depth and weight today, and I'm proud of that. That's not, where's your humility? That is my humility. God dang it, I am darn proud of it. I'm proud of being 63 years old. I'm proud of having raised 2 kids. I gave birth to one of those boogers, 9 pounds at home. I'm darn proud of that. So there you go. I mean, there's things to be proud of. None of this nonsense of false humility. Oh, no. This self-sacrificing stuff. I think sometimes we get this stuff very, very mixed up. I love to mention that the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous was named by the Library of Congress as one of the 88 books that shaped America. Now think about that. Our book was one of 88 books, and it could have not got to press about 1,000 times, hanging on a thread. Our fellowship, our program was. It's unbelievable, and it's our book. And mine sat on the shelf for 15 years. People say, I said that in a pretty large group at a conference, and I said, yeah, and mine sat on the shelf for 15 years. You heard this collective groan. Oh, yeah, like your book hadn't. Oh, come on. Everybody takes 2 steps forward, 1 step back throughout sobriety. There is no arrival. I think sometimes we have the delusion that we arrive and we can rest on our laurels and we don't have to do what the other guy does. Well, best of luck if that is you. I sponsor enough people to know it's really dangerous, myself included, right? And my job here tonight, I like to consider myself a big book teacher, right? I can teach it, but I also have somebody that teaches it to me. I walk what I do. I walk the talk. Follow me around. If you question, oh, that's Katie, she knows the book, whatever. I hope you know the book. It's just a life or death errand we're on. Other than that, skip it. So my job's the 10th step, right? 30 minutes, and I have a timer. I'm on it. It's my husband that's a little slack in there, but the 10th step. Wow, boy, talk about a misunderstood step in Alcoholics Anonymous. I came out of untreated alcoholism at 17 years sober, right? I had no idea I was not working the program. No idea, right? And I'm out there doing everything. I'm sponsoring, I'm service, I'm all about it. But little did I know, I did not understand the directions. I thought the 10th step was the evening review, and I wasn't doing it anyway. So there you have it. And so, I thought, 10th step, yeah, I think the meeting's on the 10th step. I mean, I'm not doing it, I'll just listen, but go ahead. And come to find out, the 10th step is a spot check inventory taken throughout the day. Spot check. Now, it's interesting because how did that get so muddy? I have a couple of things. I think Oral AA did it. You hear it 5 times in a meeting, you believe it, you don't really look at the book, and you say the 10 steps the evening review. The other thing is the 12 and 12. In the 10th step of the 12 and 12, it talks about the many different inventories that are in there, right? And the very last 2 pages or page and a half is telling you about the evening review. And then you flip the page and you go, okay, now we're on to meditation. So you think because we haven't studied the book, we get a little muddy in this area. Nothing wrong with that, but I think it's really darned important that we be aware of what we're doing. Now, once you understand that the 10 steps of spot check inventory and somebody in a meeting says that it's the evening review, you don't want to go, hip, AA police here, incorrectamundo, right? As Charlie likes to say, I like to judge people on something I learned 30 minutes ago, right? It's unbelievable. So you wait a few times, and I like to say in a meeting, you know what? I'm so excited this meeting's on the 10th step. I too used to think it was the evening review. Come to find out, here it is right here on page 84. And the 10th step is a spot check inventory. You flip the page, or at the bottom of the next page, it says the 11th step is beginning to tell us when you flip the page, the evening review is in the 11th step. I'll be darned. So then this is something, I like to read some really cool spiritual literature. Everybody's got their own path. We throw the gate so wide open, but I lean towards Western. Some do Eastern, some do Native American, whatever you do. But this is a book I love. It's called Jesus Calling. And if Jesus bothers you, as my sweet friend, Al-Anon friend, Pat Clater used to say, just jump over Jesus. Okay, just put your own words in there. But her stuff is so phenomenal because it's the 2-way prayer that the Oxford group was doing. And this is out of that book. I don't know what day it was on, but it says, problems are a part of life. They are inescapable, woven to the very fabric of our world. So hear that. You cannot miss problems. They are our greatest gift. We tend to go into problem-solving mode all too readily, as if we have the capacity to fix everything. Sound familiar? This is a habitual response, so automatic that it bypasses our conscious thinking. This is where it starts to get dicey. Not only does this habit frustrate us, it also distances us from God. Think about that. Self-reliance distances us from God. Don't let fixing things be our top priority. We are ever so limited in our capacity to correct all that is wrong in this world around us. Don't weigh ourselves down with responsibilities that are not our own. Instead, make our relationship with God our primary concern. Talk with God about whatever it is on your mind. Seek his perspective on the situation rather than trying to fix everything that comes to our attention. Ask God to show us what is truly important. Remember that we are en route to freedom, and let our problems fade into the light of the universe. Wow. I mean, that's trying to tell me that the conscious mind gets completely bypassed. So this is what is so tricky. We've got to understand the laws and everything that goes into play, and not just the knowledge of God. If we're not careful, we read a lot of books, so we have the knowledge, but we don't have the experience. I love that our book talks a lot about purpose, right? It says on page 77, our real purpose is to fit ourselves. That means to adapt ourselves, to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. We are here to play the role God has assigned us. Then our primary purpose is to carry the message to the alcoholic that still suffers. And then the book is to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. And I think it's important that you understand what your purpose is. People are walking around going, I just don't know what my purpose is. Well, God dang it, try to figure it out. Ask somebody to take you through this work, get down to causes and conditions, be prepared to swallow and digest large chunks of truth about yourself. It's kind of like Theresa and I know that's like stuck right here. That idiot in the meeting. Oh my God, if I write inventory on him one more time. I mean, when somebody bugs you in an AA meeting, try to cheerfully capitalize on that. Write inventory, figure out why that particular personality bugs the crap out of you. Say that particular personality is going to be your son-in-law, going to be your neighbor, going to be your boss. This is really important to continue to take inventory. So the 10th step says, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Now here's something interesting. That's the step off the wall. If you take the 10th step off the wall, it looks like damage control, that I'm only supposed to do the 10th step when I've upset somebody. I did that for many, many years. I'm going to get angry or afraid. I just don't have the freedom to stay angry or afraid. And here's what's really important. I have to remember, there is no such thing as a justifiable resentment. A justifiable resentment is a forgiveness. Yeah, I'd rather have to ask for forgiveness than forgive because I don't do it very well. The book implies trouble, right? A lot of warnings in our book. Page 25 says that we blot out our intolerable situation. Anybody got an intolerable situation? Yep. The best we can or accept spiritual help. Crushed by a self-imposed crisis we can't postpone or evade. Either God's everything or he's nothing. And then page 133, the deliberate manufacture of misery. God didn't do it, but when trouble comes, cheerfully capitalize on it so he can show his omnipotence, right? It tells us that lack of power is our dilemma, right? Blot out your intolerable situation, God's help. Self-imposed crisis, can't postpone or evade, God's help. Deliberate manufacture of misery, God's help. Why is this a dilemma? Because they both suck. Who wants to have God's help? That means I got to sit and pray, and I got to write a piece of inventory on it, and I got to swallow and digest. Yeah. Well, you know what? If you can embrace that and be grateful for that, because when you get to the other side, it's fantastic. See, we alcoholics are undisciplined. We are lazy, and we don't want to do it. We want to get to the top of the mountain without climbing. I'd like to have the chair that I can sit in. It just kind of passes all the people that are sweating. Let me get to the top. Here I am. Lovely. Right? So here's what happens. The spirit falls asleep, but I'm dreaming I'm awake and light. And then all of a sudden I step on somebody's toes. They startle me awake. And I'm like, whoa, man, did I piss Johnny off in the meeting? I tell somebody about it. I got to go make an amends for that. Not even exactly sure what I did, but he's pissed. And it seems that everybody thinks I did something wrong. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to tell Johnny, man, I am so sorry that I said that. It wasn't funny at all. And at the cost of you know, I'm sorry, right? No real thought went into the amends, just that. And then I go back asleep and I don't even realize it. See, it says the spiritual life is not a theory, right? The word theory is speculation. We have to live it. And I'm telling you, everybody falls asleep. I will continue to fall asleep. I don't stay asleep nearly as long as I used to, but I tell you what, I don't rest on my laurels thinking, Katie Parker can do that. No. Boy, my pup was in the hospital. I got a new puppy, which is, my kids can't even believe. I can't even believe I got a puppy. And, you know, I used to judge the crap out of people who had the dogs and would spend tons of money on these dogs. But, you know, I haven't had dogs since now they got this newfangled, you know, basically MRIs for dogs. And I would judge the crap out of people silently, of course. You know, they can't believe they're spending that kind of money on that dog. I took my pup, she's 11 months old, into the hospital. And I said, do whatever you have to do. I got plenty of money. Go ahead, take her. And I thought, oh my God, I'm such a hypocrite. Wow. And I mean, it was 6 very dark days. I ate 3 pints of ice cream for 3 days in a row. I locked myself in my room. I put the blackout curtains down and I watched all the Marvel movies. You know why? Because they rescue everybody. See, I couldn't save my husband from dying. I couldn't rescue all the people in my life that I've lost. And those dots connect like 2 spark plugs, just. So you tap that stuff, man, I go down the road. My pup's okay. I got her out of the hospital on Friday. It was deeply painful. Did not do well at all. Made a couple of calls to a handful of sponsees, but it was dark, guys. Of course it was. I am very spiritually fit, but life can be challenging. It says we've entered the world of the spirit. You know, what the heck does that mean? Mark used to say, Mark Houston was quite the teacher for us. He used to say, how do you know what you don't know? To me, it's like, I don't even get what that's saying. Well, to sum it up a little bit, this is not a perfect explanation, but a little bit is I love to gossip. Woohoo! I love to be a part of gossip. I like to be to get involved in gossip, and I like to start gossip. Okay. And one day in sobriety, it no longer felt good. I gossiped about somebody and I thought, wow, that doesn't feel good. Used to lie when I didn't even have to. I don't care. Like, not going to harm anybody. It was a white lie. Now I can't do either of those 2 things without, really feeling some discomfort. And of course that grows and gets bigger and deeper and deeper and deeper to where, I think about others most of the time in my life. So our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs actually happens. Why does it happen? Because I do the disciplines. I do the disciplines even if I don't want to do the disciplines. And let me tell you something about that. It's kind of, Mark said to me when he said, Katie, it says we're to stay in fit spiritual condition. He goes, you're an athlete. You know what is required to be fit. I get it. I mean, it's not an option. I mean, I'm going to stay fit for the rest of my life unless something takes me down, and I'll figure out something. And he said, take that same discipline into 10 and 11. Well, what that means is when I go to the gym and don't really want to go in, I still go in, right? I have to do it no matter what. See, I wake up in the morning. I don't want to do my disciplines. I don't want to do my disciplines at night. I have to do them. See, we can talk all day long about you working out. We can read books about it. We can even go to the gym and sit in the cafe and talk about it. Till you get your ass on the treadmill, nothing's going to happen. It's the exact same thing. This is 4 paragraphs. The 10th step is 4 paragraphs. We could talk about it all day long, but you got to do it. It says we've entered the world of the spirit. Our next function, which is expected duty, is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Well, how do we do that? We continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. That's throughout your day, right? Wanting everybody to do as I wish is really the truth of the matter. And so this selfishness, dishonesty comes in 3 forms, right? Flat out lying. People go, I don't lie. Well, you lied saying you don't lie. You darn sure do. Everybody lies. Lying, not telling the whole truth, and then believing the delusional lie. I don't like to live in all the fear that drives me, because if you're a strong-willed woman like I am, fear, I don't see fear as much. I see it more than I've ever seen it before, but I can see resentment really well. But if you do enough resentment inventories, you'll begin to open your eyes to the fear. It's really incredible. And then here's the directions. When these crop up, any 4 of these, we ask God at once to remove it. That's where you do the affirmative prayer. We discuss them with somebody immediately. We don't wait till the end of the day and do it in the evening. That's the evening review. We make amends quickly if we've harmed anybody. And that's hoping that you haven't harmed somebody, because you talk to God and you talk to somebody. Oh, the cat was knocking on the door. I thought, holy smoke, somebody's in my house. She's like, let me in. Oh, putting her out was the best idea. Her tail would be swinging around. Then it says, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help, not our actions. I don't have to jump up at work and go help somebody. So these are the 4 things we must do. Now, we have to make these things go deeper than, okay, God, you know, please take this resentment away from me. I don't want to have it. Oh, no. You have to understand. Now you can start that way. You have to understand the spiritual laws, right? The laws are in everything. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Native American, there are all kinds of laws out there. These two laws are from Emmett Fox, who I love. He's my hero. He brought me closer to anything of a God about my understanding than anyone did. The law of substitution. So you ask God to remove it. In order to remove something, you must replace it in the spiritual world. So here's the law of substitution. There are a few great laws that govern all things, just as there are a few fundamental laws in chemistry. We know that the thought control is the key of destiny. And in order to learn thought control, we have to know and understand these laws. Mark used to say, turn statements into questions. Ask yourself, is that true for you? One of the great mental laws is the law of substitution. This means that the only way to get rid of a certain thought is to substitute another one for it. You cannot dismiss a thought directly. You can only do so by substituting another one for it. When a negative thought comes to you, don't fight it. Just imagine that as a practice. But think of something positive. Preferably think of God. But if that's too difficult at the moment, turn your attention to something quite differently. So I call it affirmative prayer. I tap the brakes right when I realize that I typically do fear and resentment. When I know that about my kids, right? Something's going on with my son. I mean, my kids are 42 and 32, but I still worry about them. Something goes on with them, I immediately say, God, I'm not willing to believe this delusional lie. That's me tapping the brakes. That means I'm getting ready to do the first part of the 10th step and go into affirmative prayer. My son has an amazing life. He's got incredibly good health, and he's got a very happy family. Now, those things may be in jeopardy. See, I don't have to feel them. I don't even have to believe it. I have to do it. Why? Because I just explained the law. The law is in effect, right? The law of gravity is in effect. You don't question it. You don't go jumping off a building going, hey, it might be suspended. You're going to probably say bye-bye. So that law. Now, here's the one that will really get you. It's called the law of subconscious activity. Remember when we said it bypasses the consciousness right away? The law of subconscious activity. As soon as the subconscious mind accepts any idea, it immediately begins to try to put it into effect. That ought to make you breathe shallow. It uses all its resources, and these are far greater than is commonly supposed. It uses every bit of knowledge that you've ever collected, holy smokes, most of which you've totally forgotten, to bring its purpose about. This should be making you a little nervous. It mobilizes the many mental powers that you possess, most of which you never consciously use. It draws on the unlimited energy of the racing mind. I got a lot of Marvel in me right now. I'm just watching it happen. It lines up all the laws of nature as they operate both inside and outside of you to get its way. Sometimes it succeeds in this purpose immediately. Sometimes it takes a little time. Sometimes it takes a long time. But if this is not utterly impossible, the subconscious will bring it about once it accepts the idea. Now, here's the gift. If that didn't make your butt pucker, I don't know what would. Here's the gift. The law is true for both good and bad ideas. This law, when used negatively, brings sickness, trouble, and failure. And when used positively, brings healing, freedom, and success. We give the orders, the subconscious does the work. I mean, what a gift, right? I mean, when you have to watch and turn, watch, turn, watch, turn. If you're really disturbed, you may have to do that sometimes 70 times a day. When all of a sudden it crops up, you go, God, I'm not willing to believe that delusional lie. It is the most beautiful day today, and I'm happy as a clam. I can't wait to see who you got for me to help. Boom, 3 to 10 seconds, redirect, redirect, redirect. Try it. It's unbelievable. But unfortunately with us, we're undisciplined. So you'll do it for 3 days. You start to feel fabulous. And then what's the first thing you do? Yeah, you quit doing it. That's the nature of it. That takes forever to get through that cycle. So here's a 10th step. Now, I really hesitate doing this 10th step because my time is going, but I'm going to give it to you. I don't care. I think you should never text a 10th step to anybody. That's my strong opinion. I think you should call or write it. Those two things are very important. Spiritual work happens through you and me talking, not texting. However, my sponsor is a big deal in the criminal justice system. And when she's in court, she's in court. And she can't, hey, Judge, Katie's got a 10th step. Can we recess? Because I asked her, Judge, and she said no. And so I had to text this to Marty. Charlie has, as most of you know, he has throat problems, and he's one dysplasia away from throat cancer, but throat cancer is very slow growing, blah, 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 blah. And so we have to go to see this doc about every 3 months. They run a scope down his throat, and we've been doing this drill for over 10 years. Okay, we do this pretty regular. My other husband that passed away let me do everything. I mean, I went in there with the pad paper. I was raising a family. You know the drill. Charlie and I, totally different situation. And Charlie handles it different than Joe did. Joe just let me do everything. Charlie doesn't play that way, right? He likes to go in there and just act like, hey, Mary, how are the kids? Right? So I go in there and he is telling the doctor, Mary is trying to get him to just, do you use nose spray? Just answer the question. And he goes, I don't use nose spray. Oh my God, he uses it every 10 minutes, you know? Do you clear your throat in the morning? No, you can't even talk to Charlie for the first couple of hours. Sometimes his throat is so messed up, you know, it's so full of phlegm and everything. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking I'm spiritually fit. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, you've got to be kidding me. Really? And then she walks out and I look at him and I go, you know what, Charlie, you are a big, fat liar. And I mean, he came out of that chair like the Incredible Hulk. I know I'm watching a lot of Marvel. He's like, get it. And I thought, oh, really? You know, and I grabbed my stuff and I'm doing that crazy cry, that crazy pissed off cry. I'm out of here. And I get ready to leave and the doc is coming in and he goes, whoa, Katie, are you okay? And this guy loves us. And I go, no. And I go out into the waiting room and I'm telling you what, I cannot stop that crying. It just came from the pit of my gut. And I'm holding the magazine up like this, trying to stop crying. You know, like I could read it. So I text Marty, and let me tell you, I'm a terrible texter. Took me forever to get this out. So here's the text. Marty, I need a new, now here's the other part that's important. My sponsor knows I'm down there, right? Because she knows these are tough times for me. They can be no problem at all. Charlie and I go have breakfast. We go to the outlet mall. We make a whole day of this deal. But she also knows I'm down there. She's not, you know, oh gosh, Marty doesn't know that Katie's down there. So she's on alert. Batman, you know, the bat's in the sky, Batman. Gotham City's burning down. Says, I need a new toolkit for a sick husband. We're at the doctor's office. I just left the room. I couldn't stop crying. I must sit there and be submissive. I can't do that. He doesn't give them enough information. Now, if you know how to hear a 10 step, and you may not, it's okay. We got to all learn sometime. You just heard the old idea I have. I must sit there and be submissive. If I think I've got to be submissive, I'll kill both of us. I mean, I lose my mind. Marty immediately texts back. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. It must be so painful. She gives you the just knocks my head off here in a minute. I'm sure he's scared, maybe even terrified. None of this is about you. How can you be helpful? Are you in that doctor's office treating him like he knows nothing? Are you the doctor police? How are you coming off when giving information to the doctors? Are you smugly superior? I immediately stopped crying. Now, I was hysterical, immediately. You can't deny that. I texted her back, yes. That's all I had. Says, stepping on his toes. Yeah, she's not done yet, by the way. Stepping on his toes, are you? Well, if not you, who? All cloaked in a good motive. You have all the tools, hon. Just use them. I know hospitals and doctors are some traumatic stuff for you, and you go on super high alert. This is a new day. And I texted her, thanks. And here's the gift. Charlie came out of that appointment. His appointment wasn't over. This happened in about 4 minutes because I did it immediately. And he comes out and he goes, honey, please come in here. And had I not done this, I'd have done that because my pride wouldn't let me move. You see, when I'm driven, I'm frozen. It's like, no, you scare me bad enough like that and piss me off. I mean, I'll just take everybody out. And instead I walked in there. Of course, Dr. Simpson's like, you okay? You okay? Yeah. I'm like, yes, I'm fine. And here's one last thing before I wrap this up, because the gift was that I went back in there and I actually called my son that day because I rode my son's butt a lot about his health. And, you know, he's a lot like his dad. He drinks too many sodas and all of this. And I called him and I said, you know what, Sam, it's really come to my attention that I tend to really ride the men in my life hard on their health. And I'm so sorry I've done that to you. And he paused for a second and goes, oh, Mom, I like it. Please don't stop. I was like, wow, son, thank you so much. And I got to tell you guys, man, there's things in this program. I got about 2 minutes left. There's things in this program called do-overs. Remember when we were kids and we do a do-over? Sometimes in a 10th step, you just do a do-over. You know, you and your significant other or your partner, you know, get mad at each other, and you're not going to agree. This is not new information. Neither of you is going to agree on this. So instead we come in and go, hey, can I have a do-over? Absolutely. And you just do it over and you put in there what you would have said, right? You know, you don't go, hey, I'm really sorry I said that. You go, hey, are you going to watch that TV program tonight? And the other person goes, yeah. I go, I'd love to watch that with you. You'd be shocked at how fabulous do-overs are. And the truth of the matter is I am not running over. This is goddamn Theresa's meeting. I'm going to leave the rest and leave 45 seconds on the table. Thank you so much for having me.
That was so good. Thank you, Kate. That's what I tell you, fire. Strap on, everybody. We be going. Packed in a whole bunch. And every single time most of you share, I always forget I'm participating. I be so much in it. And then it's like you finish. I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to say something. Especially when I listen to like Katie and Ralph and certain people I listen to that afterwards, I'm like, well, I thought I knew that step.
Oh, stop.
I thought I knew it. I guess I don't. And as I'm listening, so many things are coming to my mind. But real quick, I think I want to read it. Because it's interesting how it begins talking about the 10th step in the big book. And it says, this thought brings us to step 10. And it's always like, well, what thought? Well, they just finished reading the promises. And many of us are so excited about the promises, but it kind of, the thought of that, living that way and that way of life, and that it is realized for all of us, that this is true for all of us. So that thought of how is this true for all of us? These are not extravagant promises, we think not. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, they always materialize if we work for it. And then it says, this thought brings us to step 10, which is what thought? It's going to work for me. It will materialize for me, but I got to work for it. So that means that I don't arrive at 9 and I'm good, right? I got the promises. And that's what Katie was talking about. Sometimes we get to this place of complacency or rest on our laurels. And it's like all the promises have come true. I'm good to go. And it says, no, the thought of it materializing, I got to work for it. So now that I've had the privilege of experiencing, I was blocked by the sunlight of the spirit. It's interesting that they use the term, I'm going to enter the world of spirit. Well, I was blocked by that spirit, right? When I came in here. And that's why I did inventory. I was blocked by it. Now I'm going to enter into it and live in it. But now I have to work for that. It's not through osmosis. We don't do this one time. It's going to turn into like a way to live. And I always say in the big book, step 10 reads like a state of being. A state of being, because it kind of tells me how I should be right now as a result of this. Mm-hmm. And so it brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory, continue to set rights, right? When new mistakes, when we come along, mm-hmm. we vigorously commence this way of living as we clean up the past. I have to vigorously do it. I can't somewhat do it, half-ass do it, a little bit do it, now and then do it, wonder if I should do it. I have to vigorously, and it requires that I pay attention. See, for me to vigorously do something, I have to pay attention. If I'm not paying attention, it's like after effect. Most alcoholics think about it afterwards, right? Oh man, I jacked up everybody. You know, like I have to pay attention to what the hell I'm saying and doing is what is asking me to be on alert. And I've entered the world of spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly with someone. Make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. And then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance is our code. And this is what's supposed to be happening to me now. We ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. The war is over. Remember, I set down my arms earlier on, right? I believe God can restore me to sanity. I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. I've got a new director, a new employer. The war is over, right? I waved the white flag. I met God butt naked alone with a white flag up my ass. I'm not in a war anymore because the victor never seems to win, right? I'm no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated, just as a recap, right, of what's happened to me at this point. And so here I am. I need to enter into this state. I love these words because basically I'm not fighting anything or anybody. I don't need to fight no more. I was fighting my whole life. I was figuring life out my whole life. I don't have to figure it out anymore. For by this time, sanity will have returned. I believe that sanity could return on 2. It returns in 10. I remember old timers used to tell me, it used to be really funny. I would say, talk about something. What step are you on? And I'd be like, well, wait till you get to step 10, because that's when sanity returns, kind of thing, right? And so sanity is going to return in 10. And it tells me sanity has returned. What sanity? I've had an opportunity to look at my alcoholism. I'm armed with facts about myself. I understand that I have a disease of a 3-fold nature. I've learned so much about me, alcoholism, God, that my perception is distorted. That's what I mean, my sanity is returned. Thank God for the gift of awareness. I can now see. I see my defects of character. Before I did the work, I didn't even know I had them. As a matter of fact, I thought you had them, but I didn't. It's crazy. We will seldom be interested in liquor. To think that there was a time that that's all that dominated my mind was drinking. That's all that I couldn't even fathom 24 hours. And I'm seldom going to think about it. Now and then it may pop up. They call it a fleeting thought. To think that every single day, all day, I had 2 thoughts before I came to this program. And that was either how to drink or how not to drink. And now it's telling me that I'm seldom even going to think about it. If tempted, we recoil from it like a hot flame. You ever had those drinking dreams? I remember in the beginning when I was new, I had drinking dreams and I was getting loaded in my dreams. And I don't know if I should change my sobriety date. I've talked to my sponsor about this, but I used to take a lot of naps. You know what I'm saying? Because I couldn't get loaded awake. So I think for the first week, I was always napping. I got to go finish the rest of that. I mean, like, anyway. But then my dreams started to change. So at first I was actually getting loaded in my dreams. And then I was trying to get it, but I couldn't quite get to it. And then I end up actually, something happened. It was offered and I was freaking out. Like my dreams got all jacked up, even with my drinking. And to the point that then if I even had an inclination that I might have had it in my dream, that it turned to I woke up with a panic and freaking out, thinking that I got loaded. And I know this program works. A drunk like me is terrified that dream, let it not be true, is now a nightmare when that was my hope in my dream every single day, all day. I'm recoiling from it like a hot flame. And we react sanely and normally. Well, I was acting Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs before. Sanely and normally. And we find that this happens automatically, that I don't have to say I'm going to act normal and sane. It just happens. The way I used to behave, the things I used to do, I'm just kind of not doing it the same anymore. We will see that our new attitude towards liquor has been given us without any thought or effort. I'm not white knuckling it. At this place in step 10, I'm not saying I'm not going to drink today. I realize what solidifies this, I don't know, how can I term this? This is how I'm clear that I'm an alcoholic, is that I don't say I'm not going to drink today. What I say is, if you leave it up to me, I'm drinking. So I no longer have to go out of my way to defend my drinking, explain my drinking, prove to myself that I'm not drinking. What it's telling me here is I'm going to come to a place without any effort. There's no negotiation about whether I'm drinking today or not. None. It just comes. This is a miracle that's going on here in step 10. This isn't, and if it ain't broke, why fix it? Something has happened 1 through 9. There's a practice that I learned. I've been given 12 steps as tools designed for living. You use terms like we lay them at your feet. I need to pick them up and apply them. I need to use them. They're not homework. They're not exercises. It's not something that I just get through. I learned to live them. When my sponsor first took me through the steps, she gave me a working knowledge of them. So I need to use them. Step 10 is telling me that I am now armed with something. I have a tool belt that I can use. I have a resource. Before I reach for the drink or whatever other substance or relationships or money or job, now I have this resource. I'm not fighting it. I'm in a position of neutrality. I'm safe and protected. And I was terrified before I came here. Terrified. Couldn't breathe. I haven't sworn off. I don't need to promise anybody, I swear to you, I'm not drinking today. This is the experience that I have in 10. Instead, the problem is removed. Removed. A drunk like me is removed. Am I exempt from ever drinking again? No, I got one day at a time. But today, I'm not obsessing over drinking. The obsession has been removed. That's amazing to me. It does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor are we afraid. This is our experience. This is how we react. And here's the disclaimer. Here's the clincher. Here's the other little piece, right? This is how we react as long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. Like Katie was talking about, she does, exercising and stuff like that. She's a trainer. You can train all day long. You can tighten your muscles. You can lift up weights. You can get all massed and all that kind of stuff. Stop doing that for a while. See what happens. It doesn't stay. The diet has to maintain. The exercise, you know what I mean? All that has to be maintained. But because I'm undisciplined, because I just started doing this, what's the one thing that I need to do? Just keep doing this program. It tells me it's easy to let up in the spiritual program of action and rest on my laurels. It's easy because once I arrived, I think I'm good. The other day I did step 11 and people talked about spiritual books to read. I forgot to mention Who Moved My Cheese. I don't know if anybody's ever read Who Moved My Cheese. That's a spiritual book. A lot of corporations use it. I'm a business person. I've used it in companies, but it's a spiritual book because it's a journey that happens after one of them gets out of the maze, right? It's about 2 little people and 2 mice. Him and Haw, Sniff and Scurry. Great book. Who Moved My Cheese? You find out what you are, okay? Him and Haw rest on their laurels. And I'm headed for trouble if I don't. So now I have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition. Every day is the day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our actions. How do I serve thee? Thy will be done. Now, how am I supposed to accomplish that? These thoughts, which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of our will. God can't take away my will. There was some idea on step 3 that I was now have a new puppet master. I redirected my will. Now I have proper use of my will. And I'm in alignment. So every day I implement these practices and I've learned to do them to the best of my ability. And thank God we don't do things alone around here. When I forget, somebody else remembers or reminds me. But I've learned to implement daily inventory. Bill expands on it in the 12 and 12. It gives us a better idea of what types of inventory we're talking about. Annual, monthly, quarterly. That makes good business sense. Remember, any good business can hardly be a success if it doesn't take stock. Didn't it tell me that on step 4? So here, remember I told you about Tabitha? To me, like inventory is like Tabitha take over or the restaurant guy take over, okay? And Tabitha, when she returns the keys to the salon people, she says, you better stay on top of this because I may show up at any time. What you don't want to have happen is Tabitha takes over the salon. She does complete inventory of its liabilities and assets, redecorates the whole freaking place, right? Employees and put, all kinds of things so that this can be a success. And then they all rest on their laurels, think they're good, and don't continue to take stock. Same thing with the restaurant. So you gave me tools to show me how to keep the business successful. You came in, you gave me these steps, and you told me take inventory. If you had a supermarket in the grand opening, right, where it took stock and you have fresh produce, everything on the shelves has an expiration date that hasn't expired, you're excited, and then you go back to that supermarket 2 months later, a month later, and the same stuff has not been replaced and dates have been expired, will you continue to shop at the supermarket? That's kind of how I see it. I'm very visual. So in order for this to be successful, I need to keep doing inventory. And with my first inventory, I pretty much scratched the surface and more gets revealed. And so I'm watching. I become the observer. I begin to watch. I need to be present for that. I need to be present to pay attention to me. I pay attention when people are talking. I'm listening. I love how I think about the consciousness, boy, because I can go on a roll. Once my mind makes a decision, all bets are off. I watch other people do it. That's scary. I watch myself. I used to say I would be in staff meetings and taking notes and pray that nobody looked at my paper. I wasn't taking good meeting notes. I was doing inventory. They would have read my paper. They would have called the pet team, okay? Because I was in there. And I come from a lot of abuse. And so the way I see the world was always in a state of victim consciousness. Everybody's attacking me. Everybody's trying to hurt me. And that one inventory wasn't going to do it. And so now when I went out in the world, I had to be aware that my perception is still distorted in some way. And what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing may be fancy or real. You know what I mean? It's kind of, and so I would be in a staff meeting and somebody would say something and I swear they were talking bad about me. And so instead of responding to it, I would write it out. I would write out what was happening to me in that moment, what was being affected. And I would pray and see where I'm at fault. I would call my sponsor sometimes from the bathroom. I always use the example, if I didn't use spot checks or in that moment, I would give the example of how distorted my thinking was, that I called my sponsor and I was like, my employer told me that I'm an asshole, I'm incompetent, that he should have never hired me, that I'm really stupid, I don't know how to do anything, and he's going to fire me. And she was like, can you tell me exactly what he said? He said I was supposed to make 200 copies instead of 100. Okay, so that had nothing to do with I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm gonna get fired. And so I had to inventory that because instantly him telling me to make an extra 100 copies, it affected my security, right? My pride, my self-esteem. It affected all those areas. And because I'm immediately affected, my basic instincts are affected, I'm either going to turn to the Avengers or I dream a genie or bewitch, okay? And so I'm thinking I'm threatened and I'm going to go into gear when I'm threatened. The way Katie explained, my subconscious mind goes, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson, and I'm about to take everybody out. Here's an opportunity in step 10 to put the brakes on and go, hold on a second. Let me acknowledge how I'm affected. Let me pray for them. And then let me turn to where I'm being selfish. And I get to ask myself some questions. Because earlier in inventory, I learned that as far as I've ever gotten in all my relations and all of my offenses was up to the third column. The fourth column was the key. How was I to master them? I need to be able to look at myself. And I begin to implement this as a practice. Good times and bad. It's always interesting. You know, I can get a resentment on the good things. I don't know about y'all, but I watch Facebook and everybody's having a great time and I got a resentment. And the funny thing about dishonesty, out of integrity and dishonesty, Facebook brings that up for me because I'm looking at stuff and I'm like jealous and be like, bitch, there you go again, doing stuff. Hey, ha, ha, ha. There you go, having things. Great house. And then I turn around and I go, thumbs up, love ya. That is so, what do you call it? Hypocritical. No, hipócrita, no, whatever, okay? Hypocritical. And so I've had to learn how to instantly look at myself. Stop, look, ask, watch. I've entered the world of spirit. I'm now in alignment. I am now present. I am awake and I am aware. Pay attention. A lot of people don't like inventory. I don't like step 9. I changed. It changed me as a woman. It was a spiritual transformation. It was humbling. My goodness, the magic and the miracle that happened in 9. But you know, I get to avoid that. Only alcoholics cause all this damage and then goes, look, Ma, the wind stopped blowing. You know what I mean? Like later turn around and go, I'm sorry. This helps me to stop saying I'm sorry and pay attention. So that's why I've always used that example of what I do. You can find whatever you do to help you to be consciously aware, to do these inventories at any given moment. I put my hand over my mouth. It just stops stuff from coming out. I've been sharing it enough that people know that. So people get nervous when I do it. But most family and friends know that somebody's talking to me. And the moment I go like this, they be like, uh-oh. I be like, I don't make a lot of eye contact, but I just got to cover my mouth because stuff is coming out and I don't want to have to make amends. And so I cover my mouth and I start asking myself those questions. What is affecting me right now? And while the person is talking, I'm actually saying, oh, you affecting my self-esteem, yo. I be like, oh, I be tripping. I be like, oh, snap, my self-esteem. My pocketbook. Oh, you all up in my pocketbook. And then I pray for you while the person is talking. I pray for them. And then I start looking at what does that have to do with me? Oh, I'm being selfish. Oh, I'm self-seeking right now. Oh, snap. Okay. And I do not move my hand. I'm telling you, I don't move my hand from my mouth until all is well. And I move my hand, ask God to remove it because I don't want to make amends. I may tell on myself, right? But I ask God, please remove my selfishness, my self-seeking, my dishonesty, my fear. What will you have me be? What will you have me do? And then I can feel it. I can feel the different shift in my body. And I move my hand and I say stuff like, I can see how you see that. Interesting perspective. I watch God show off and show out, man. I always crack up when people say, oh, God, my goodness, Theresa, you're so kind and compassionate and considerate. I'm like, you better thank God. Because I had other plans. You and I just witnessed a miracle. And this is a practice. You know, I learned that this is a practice. It tells me it's not an overnight matter. When I came to you, I had 24 years of negative data in my neurotransmitters. Instantaneously, information comes on a physiological level. My brain attaches these memories and instantly it starts firing off and telling the old narrative. So it's going to take a minute. But if I keep practicing and I keep practicing, I'm changing the data. I'm changing the information. Just like Kitty mentioned, changing the language. They taught me that when I was new. When my head would tell me you need to take a drink, I used to tell on myself and be like, oh, you shut up and leave me alone. You're a liar. I started changing the narrative. They used to say, think, think, think. Run the whole story. We look at our defects of character and we look at the opposite. What is the opposite of dishonesty? Honesty. And I start stating it. When I invite God, it's always interesting how we do prayer. God, please help me to be patient. God, please help me to be tolerant. God, help me to get to know you better. God, give me guidance on your will rather than mine. Help me today to stay sober. How do we think that's supposed to happen? God goes, okay, let me show you what's blocking you. Let me show you what's happening. Let me show you what's unresolved issues. Let me show you what's getting in the way. I need to do inventory. I'm constantly cleaning house, cleaning house, cleaning house, cleaning house. It's an opportunity. When I'm on conversations with my nephews, I'm always doing that. Because to me, I describe them the most. It's harder for me because I always want to save them, come to the rescue. I want to fix it. I want to kick the asses of anybody who's messing with them. And so they hear a lot of pause from me. Or sometimes now the oldest is 23 and I'm enjoying the youngest because now he's still quoting me like Confucius and asking me for guidance and direction, okay? And then the oldest, now he's 23 and he calls me to let me know what I don't know and how much he learned about everything that I really didn't know. And I got to listen to him. And he's finding his voice, you know, he's turning into a man. And so like he called me about his birthday and he wanted to share with me, you know, I don't appreciate, you know, that you did this. I had to be like, so that I could respond to him like, you know, I really, I'm so glad you're able to voice. But at the same time, I was still able to share with him where I was at in that situation. And we came to some agreement. But thank you. But I'm always mindful. So I believe step 10 for me is inviting mindfulness. Mindfulness. And I'm with Katie. I hear a lot of people say, I do my, what do they say? My 10 step or my 11 something, 10, I don't know. I hear that. I hear you do something. I think the wrong thing to do is not do nothing. But if we really want to say what this program has invited me to do, what it's invited me to do in 10 is to pick up a pen and paper on a regular basis. And if I can't have a pen and paper in that immediate, just use the formula that was given to me in inventory and use it. And tell on myself as soon as I can or clean up any damage that I've caused if I didn't pause in enough time. But in the morning and the night is meditation. I don't send that to nobody. I don't need to email that to nobody. I don't need to talk because that's my conversation with God. That is the development of my intuition, where I'm intuitively now, I have an intuitive conversation where I'm listening and letting God show me where I have been selfish and self-seeking and dishonest. I'm asking myself questions. So that's not a 10 step to me. A 10 step is a physical action that I take to uncover, discover, be willing to discard what is blocking me from my usefulness. There are multiple examples that I have that have saved me so many times. But one, before my time is up, I always use in 2 areas. I'll use it with my brother. And that is one time my brother was suicidal. And I was negotiating with him all night long. And he loves Star Wars. And I called my dad and I told dad he was like Yoda. And I was telling my brother he was Darth Vader and I was Luke Skywalker. And my brother's Lutheran, and my dad doesn't know the prayer, the Our Father prayer, but he was trying to do something relatable for my brother. And my dad was like, Our Father who eats bread in the sky. You know what I mean? And he was messing that prayer up and pissing my brother off more. And finally, my brother asked me, you know, I was telling him why he should live and why he shouldn't die. And you don't need to do this and da-da-da-da. And my brother finally asked me, he said, let me ask you something. Why are you here? I said, because I love you and I care. He said, are you here because of God's will or self-will? I was like, good question, Tony. Let me see. I paused and I asked myself, I did a spot check. Then I said to him, I'm here because of self-will. Know how I know? Because I'm being selfish. I'm selfish because I want you to live. And it's unfair to me to tell you the reasons you should live. That's not for me to say. I'm telling you that because I want you to live for me and what I need from you. I'm self-seeking because if you die, I don't know how I'm going to live without my brother. I don't want my nephews to look at me and think that it was my fault that I allowed it to happen. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I'm going to be held accountable. I'm afraid I'm never going to have you in my life. I'm afraid that I would have been able to do something differently. And I'm being dishonest. I'm being dishonest because I'm telling you that there's every reason you have to live. And I don't know. And it's because of those reasons I'm on self-will. But the beautiful thing is that you asked me. And because you asked me, it allowed me to clean house and to tell you I'm wrong for doing that. Does it mean that I want my brother to die? Did it mean that I was supposed to have him die? That's not what it means. What it means is that when I'm driven by self and I'm not doing this kind of inventory, I'm always in collision with something or somebody, even though I don't think so. And I am not useful, I am not effective, and I am not helpful. And my brother turned around and looked at me and said, that's why you can't help me. Can't help me. He needed help, not me imposing my fears on him. And something similar happened with my nephew, the youngest, after my brother died. And instantaneously, thank God I learned quickly, man. And he went into the hospital, and I remember I thought my sponsor was working, so I called Ralph. And I said, Ralph, we just put a 5150. That's, you admit somebody for 72 hours. Maddox, he was 14 years old. We just admitted him. I need to do this inventory before I go back to visiting hours. I want to be useful. Every part of me wants to save him, but I cannot if that is not my assignment. I cannot if I'm driven by self. That's what the 10th step does for me. And the next one was, and my time's about up, but the next one was, ironically, another opportunity with my brother, had to put him on life support. And after we put him on life support, they told me I needed to turn those machines off. And I said, y'all need to give me a minute. You need to give me a minute. That's my only brother, my older brother. Give me a minute. And I went in that little family room, and my nephews and the priest and everybody was looking through that little window, wondering what the hell I was doing with that minute. And I picked up a pen and paper. You know what I'm saying? And I was writing my ass off. I need to inventory that and ask God to remove from me. I called. This is what's going on with me. I'm selfish. I want my brother to live. I'm being this. Oh my goodness. Clean house. Clean house. In such an intense moment. What a beautiful gift we're given this tool. Clean house. And they came, I opened up the door and they're like, what happened? What happened? And now every step I did moving forward, I knew that I was in alignment, that I had entered the world of spirit. Sanity had returned. Drinking wasn't an option. And I made decisions and I don't have a regret today. I miss him, my heart breaks, but there is no regret. That's what the 10th step means. What a gift that we've been given. And that's not all. That's not all. We don't just end on 10. This is a program of action and spiritual action, but it requires a conscious contact to do it. It requires for me to be consciously aware. And I think, I'm just grateful that I'm around enough people who remain in that space. And thank God we're not all crazy on the same day. And like my sponsor says, I can't see the frame when I'm in the picture. So when I'm going Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs, I have all of you to remind me, when you clean house? Did you clean house? Life run by me don't work. We are undisciplined. So why don't I just do with the 12 steps, how they're laid out, and I let God discipline me. And the results is usually a whole hell of a lot better than what I can come up with. So that's my spiel. My time is up. It made me cry. Oh my goodness. I love Katie so much. Got me all emotionally fired up with her talk. I tell you, we're firecrackers. Put the two of us together for a week. Oh my God, in the same room, right, Katie? We were like, whoo, crazy. Poor Charlie. Poor Charlie.
I always say, when they were trying to find Bin Laden, they should have just sent you and I over there. We'd have found that rat in a hole.
Yep. I look forward to our questions. Come on, everybody.
Kay, come on up, please.
Hi, my name is Kay, and I'm an alcoholic. I am so grateful. I'm going to make this so quick. Thank you so much, Theresa. Oh my gosh, for breaking down the 10th step in such a magical, powerful.
Kay, we can't hear you.
Oh man, you can't hear me?
You have the volume on your mic. The volume on your mic is very faint. Your voice.
Okay. Oh man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there it is. So.
Okay, I'm going to make this so brief. I just wanted to say thank you so much, ladies, for breaking down that 10th step for me. Oh my gosh, such a magical spiritual blessing that I received tonight. I'm so grateful. Theresa, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This was so powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Just a reminder, questions only, please. Raquel, Gad, come on up, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Thank you. Hi, guys. My name is Raquel, and I'm an alcoholic. I want to ask actually one quick question. First of all, I do see the amazing growth that happens to step 10, but I do know where I fall short in is when I have to talk to someone, to discuss with someone immediately. Now, like, that's the part that I just like don't understand. Like, after I realize that like I'm in fear and I do my positive prayer, please God, remove this from me. I turn to somebody else. I substitute the thought. It's like, what do you mean? Like, to just like discuss with somebody? That's my thing, is I'm always falling short on discussing with somebody. It always feels like it's just not that important. So I just wanted to say that. My question is that actually, like, really, do we have to like turn like that? That's it.
Theresa, do you want to answer that, or you want me to answer it?
Go for it.
Okay. It's interesting because I think when it says that we, in the third step, that we find where we've made decisions based on self that later place us in a position to be hurt. And Theresa used that beautiful example. It says, I can't see the picture frame when I'm in the picture. Is sometimes we do see it. We clearly saw where we stepped on someone's toes, because we can just be assholes. Let's be real clear about it. You know what I mean? We can be a loud, quiet. But the truth of the matter is sometimes somebody's upset with me and I can't figure out what did I do? And so I call somebody. I could be disturbed too, but it's usually because somebody has snubbed me that's got my attention and I'm baffled. And so when I tell somebody about the 10th step, like Marty, I'm like, my husband, he's a big fat liar. Come on, support that. And, and she's like, yeah, but look at how you showed up. And it just completely changes everything. So someone can see, they can always walk me back to where I made that decision based on self. Remember, when you're driven by those 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity, you step on the toes of your fellows. They retaliate, seeming without provocation, but we invariably, that means always, find that we've made a decision based on self that later placed us in a position to be hurt. That decision is so subtle that until I talk to you, I don't even remember that I did it. And then all of a sudden I go, oh my God, I remember when I made that decision and did that. I'll be damned. I wanted to be a friend of that girl's because she intimidated me. She was pretty. I thought I'd be her friend, ended up really being her friend. I don't like her at all. And she's sucked to my tentacle at my neck, and I'm like, dang, you know what I mean? I mean, there you go. It's those kind of things that, it's usually behind a kind motive.
Ditto. And I want to add to that when we do an inventory, it also says it's vital that we do a fifth. So that goes together. Like, I can't keep that to myself either. It says talk about my wrongs, not my rights. So I need to tell on myself too. Like, maybe not in that moment, like, hold on, I'm going to call everybody and say how I'm wrong. But somewhere along the line, I have a relationship, whether it's with my sponsor, people are respecting the program, that I need to say, you know, I was being very selfish today. I was being inconsiderate and not mindful. In this situation that came up, I'm being a liar. I'm dishonest. Like, I have to continue to tell on myself. The most spiritual men continue to, you know, talk to somebody else. A doctor always needs another doctor. A therapist has to have another therapist. So if I start assuming that I can now keep all this stuff to myself, it tells me the oldest old timer who skips this step and, you know, inevitably gets drunk. So we're as sick as our secret. So part of that for me is I need to tell somebody sometimes. And maybe not at that moment, but I like somewhere, somehow to kind of share a little bit of my dirty laundry, you know what I mean, of my behavior. So that, you know, but there's certain things, or real quick, or sometimes I already did something and I can take ownership when I'm talking to somebody. Well, that was dishonest. You know what I mean? I'm being selfish. That's unfair. I can do that too. Do you know what I'm saying? That's telling them. I just lied to your ass. I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Raquel. Jackie, come on up, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie, and I am an alcoholic. Oh, you ladies make me laugh. I love it, and I need to laugh. Hey, this question, I think Katie may have pointed it out, but in that first paragraph, one of you guys mentioned like 4 different things that we must do, and I was wondering if you could point those out again. I was trying to write them down, and I just don't exactly remember what you said.
Well, they're just to help you out too. They're on page 84 in the big book.
Okay.
It says we're to watch for resentment, dishonesty, selfishness, and fear. And when these crop up, and this is in my thinking, it's trying to get your thinking mind to watch. It's not necessarily your actions. We want your thinking mind to watch for it. We're to ask God at once to remove them. Talk to somebody immediately. Make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. We hope you've done the first 2 so you didn't step on their toes. And then resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we could help, not our actions, just our thinking mind. So this is really, it's a consciousness of watching your thinking. You're very, honestly, guys, our very first thought is pretty ugly. I mean, if all of a sudden you're a little intimidated and you meet somebody and you look at them and you think, oh my God, those glasses are hideous. And, you know, I'm sorry, I'm thinking that in my mind. So I look at that and I go, wow, I must be really a little insecure right now. I am starting to tear this person down. So I'm watching that thought. See, I'm not responsible for my first thought, but I am deeply responsible for any thought after that. So after that's where I have to go, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I love what Theresa said about covering her mouth. There are some times that I am so taken back by my first thought can be so ugly that I'm just like, oh my God, but nobody knows I'm having it. I'm just like, wow, watch your thinking. Don't beat yourself up for it. It's human nature. You know, we are outright mental defects, full flight from reality, can't differentiate the truth and the false. Oh, and by the way, we suffer from a fatal illness. Other than that, have a good day. You know, you don't have any problems. This son of a gun has got, it is just out to get me. The ego is out to kill me, and I'll wish I was dead long before I'm dead. So don't fool around with thinking you got to be good, or, you know, it's trust me, we're all in the same boat rowing together.
Maureen, come on up, please.
Hi, I'm Maureen. I'm an alcoholic, and I have 2 questions. The first was, who was the author that you talked about, Katie, for the 2-way prayer?
Sarah Young in Jesus Calling.
Okay. And then the other thing was the PPG group of, or PPG of Austin, is your home group. Do they have any online Zoom meetings, do you know of?
Yeah, we did. We ended up meeting back in person. And so we got such a great response for our PPG meeting that we, Group Conscience, elected to just do a Zoom separate from it. and it is on Wednesday nights. And I'll tell you what, I'll put it in the chat right now. So grab your pen and you know what? How do you make this thing? Oh, I got it. Go to everyone. I'll put it in there right now, and it's on Wednesday nights.
Thank you.
You bet. Good question.
Thank you, Maureen. Brandy, come on up, please.
Thanks, gals, for a great meeting tonight. My name's Brandy, and I'm an alcoholic. And the question that I have, gals, you know, another one who's got some long-term sobriety here is, do you guys always find it necessary to, when you're doing a spot check, to put things down on paper? I do a lot of writing on paper just as a habit, because when I was early in sobriety, you know, my sponsor, when I would call her belly aching about something, she would very nicely say, oh, that's great. Tell me all about it word for word, get it on paper, and then call me back. And then she would hang up on me. So, and I wanted to talk to somebody. So I ended up writing it down, and it's just, you know, it's kind of become a habit over the time. But do you guys find it necessary to always write the spot checks?
Theresa, you want to answer that one? I'm eating, which is terribly bad idea, but I'm crazy.
I think pen to paper helps a lot, but sometimes when I'm in the middle of something, you know what I mean? Like major, like I gave a description with, you know, there's certain situations that I do it. Do you know what I mean? That I'm just doing it. Put my hand, you know, it'll be on the phone. If not, I'm always going to be walking around like a reporter. You know what I mean? She's always writing. I don't know. Teresa's always in a pen and paper because it comes up a lot. Believe it or not, I seem very sweet and kind, but I am extremely self-righteous and judgmental. That's why I love me some Katie, boy. I'd be like, ooh, my first thoughts are not very nice. And so I kind of like build that muscle of asking myself those questions before I open up my mouth as opposed to getting a pen and paper. But I am a believer in writing. There's some times that I'm not sure what's going on with me. And so I'll just start writing, I call it dear God letters, ancestors, and just let whatever come out. And then I'll see in there what I'm resentful or fearful, and, you know, and switch that over to inventory. But I do believe putting pen to paper. And I, like you, when I got sober, my sponsor was like, did you write about it? No, and would hang up on me. Today, I'll say this. I have a lot of people who want to text, instant message. They'll send me a whole bunch of stuff, and I may just go, okay, thumbs up. I'm not responding to that. I don't know what to tell you. But I will recommend that some sponsees, I'm like, I think it's important to have somebody you can vent with. Like when you call me, I'm not the Lifetime channel. I'm the recovery channel. And so like I can watch a lot of movies about stuff. So hopefully you call your sponsor with wrongs, you know what I mean? Not tell me the whole narrative. And I believe writing avoids that. You know, like if we pick up in the pen and paper and write, then you can read to me your writing, not the narrative you've been telling yourself. But they have been situations where I don't have a pen and paper, but this works just as effectively.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing I was going to say now that I'm thinking about it is I also do a lot of that in my evening review. I will do a lot of writing, and I do what's called a love letter to God, like Teresa's talking about, where I kind of lay out my problem and give a little bit of time in between and then write, you know, what God would respond, that consciousness. And I love that Theresa said, the 11th step is not to be shared unless I've kept something to myself that should have been shared with someone, which basically says, did you not do the 10th step? But this app that's out there is, once again, I mean, people, if you do it, well, good. Do it for a week and then quit doing the app. The app is not designed. We don't need to make this easier for you. The easier everything is, then before you know it, you're sending your 11th step to everybody and you completely leave God out. You hope that your buddy sees something in there and goes, hey, man, you've had that on there 3 times. Oh, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Like I didn't know it already, you know? So, I mean, be very careful. I had one guy on Zoom take such issue with me on that. I thought, kiss my foot. You know, really, is that where you're going to go with this, buddy? You're going to argue the directions? The directions are clear cut. You don't want to do them? rock on. You know, you and I probably won't ever skip down the yellow brick road together. But the truth of the matter is that it's so important to understand that you either got relief or freedom. And if you just got relief, then you're going to have to definitely put pen to paper. I wrote inventory on somebody in the middle of a talk in a big book weekend, and I didn't get past the third column and saw myself all over it. What a hypocrite I was. I think the sooner you find out that you're a hypocrite, the more freedom you're ever going to have, because that's what we are. We're just so hypocritical. That was all I had. Obviously, I got off on a bandwagon. And foolishly, I opened pistachios. I can't stop eating them. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I'm going to put them over here, and I'm not going to touch them. Swear to God. Swear to God.
Oh, I love this. Katie's face as Theresa was talking is like she's watching a movie. Popcorn. She's watching a movie. It's the best. Sorry. PC, come on up, please.
Hey everybody, Tree Alcoholic, and thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Theresa. Thank you, Katie. You guys are such powerhouse inspirations to me. I try not to miss you. This question is for Katie, and it's just about, I got the law of substitution, and I got my pen here. The second law, the law of unconscious something. And can you just say real quickly again, just for me?
You know what, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll email them to you. I'm going to put my email address in the chat, and but don't email your life story to me. I will not read it. But email me and just say, send me all your stuff, and I'll have all the spiritual laws. There's many spiritual laws. I follow Emmett Fox in that area, but you know, feel free to email me and just say, send me all your stuff, and I'll send it all to you. And there's plenty there to just kind of mill over. That's like with Theresa. You know, Theresa and the white boys, I just feel like I'm part of the family. Ron and Ralph and them, they are my teachers. And if there's anything they got, I want to get it. I love learning more and having these discussions with people. And, you know, every once in a while I'll get a little hot under the collar, but not too often. Typically, we're all just learning. So I'll send you all the laws. I think there's 12 of them, and then there's sub laws, and then there's that law.
Okay.
I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last person up, Chris, come on up, please. Chris, we can't hear you, brother.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Chris, recovered alcoholic. And thank you, Katie. Love you. Theresa, love you too. And my question, we talked about the actions of this step, but I'm wondering, what is a miracle? And could you explain what the actions of this step will give me if I do these steps, and where does it come from? Either one.
Oh, stuff it up your ear.
He's trying to be Chris.
I swear to God, you know what? I knew when he opened his mouth, it was like, oh, here we go. Chris and I we'd have drank together in a bar, and then one of us was going to kick someone's ass. Okay, it's like, okay, and then pow, give him one of those.
I love it, Chris.
I know, I love him too. And he just.
You know, Chris, I will say this. It's a really valid point, because the word is mentioned in 10, right? The word is mentioned where the miracle that takes place for us is that the drinking problem has been removed. And a miracle is a phenomenon, something that cannot necessarily be explained. We use the term miracle, but we're looking at the miracle in these squares that we have right now. The fact that I'm a drunk that could have never stopped drinking and practicing these steps to the best of my ability, I recall from it like a hot flame. I've entered the world of spirit. Sanity has returned. That is the miracle of it. And we can't explain it. It is a phenomena, just like I was talking to Ali real quick. I'm doing biology, and every class I take, I'm always looking for God, whether it's science or not. And I asked the professor, I was like, did I miss it? But did you define energy? We're talking about energy. Did you define it? And he was like, actually, there's no definition for energy. It just is. We don't know what it is, but what we do know is that nothing living can exist without it. We only see the results of it. And that is the miracle. That is the phenomena in which cannot necessarily be explained, but only witnessed. And so what we do know is from here, we end up being here, something happened. Just like energy, it just is. And it says, and it just comes and it happens. And this is the miracle of it all. And is that not why I crawled into these rooms on March 29, 1990? So you made a point in which we didn't touch on or mention, but really the miracle is that I'm a miracle. We're all miracles. But I only have a daily reprieve. I always have to add that. I cannot get cocky and rest on my laurels talking about I've been saved, and then I don't continue to watch and do what's necessary, because I can also drink again. So, got anything else on that, Katie?
Well,
Chris was trying to tell us we didn't mention it.
You know what? Chris is a pot stirrer. It took me a little while to figure it out. And then when I figured it out, I went, aha. Okay, I like on page 153 where it says, the age of miracles is still with us. Our own recovery proves that. You know, having entered the realm of the spirit, I did mention, and that is something that is very difficult to explain what it looks like. The miracle itself. Carl Jung on page 27, when he's trying to tell Roland Hazard, he's got to have a vital spiritual awakening, right? That's kind of the same thing, the miracle that comes. And he says, basically, here it is, once in a while, alcoholics have had what we call a vital spiritual experience. To me, these occurrences are phenomena. They appear to be in the nature of a huge emotional displacement and rearrangements. Ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding force of the lives of these men, are suddenly cast to one side, and a completely new set of concepts and motives begin to dominate us. Of course, I just want to be a smart aleck, Chris. That you might consider that. I love that man with all my heart, but I have figured out that he and I would just. And but the truth of the matter is, I mean, when did gossip no longer be fun? You know, come on. I mean, I can't explain that. It's just the miracle of it. And God dang, there's so much. So if you're dark and in a bad spot, trust me, there is work here to do, and you will get on the other side, and you will feel very good until you hit the next wall, because you will. It's just the nature of it. All right.